What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka the Geek from DFS Army, and this is the Showdown breakdown. Where my turds at? Thursday night football special. Falcons at the Panthers. Falcons coming in as a 3-point road favorites in a 42.5-point total. I've got the man himself, Bobby Millions, aka Bobby McGee. Me and Bobby McGee, two-time Millie Maker winner, to break this thing down for you and create more millionaires on Thursday night.
Let's go.
And man, we call this the where my turds at. The turds are everywhere in this game, Bobbywow. Everywhere.
They really are. And but these are the types of showdown slates that keep us coming back, because the ugliest game on paper turns into the best DFS game. So that's why we're here. That's why I'm excited.
I think these kind of games are really good. I actually think it's fairly straightforward. It's weird, but that's kind of how I see it. I see it kind of straightforward as a game without too many players that are going to burn us, right? In a pretty likely way that things will go. Although the QB situation for the Panthers is a little weird, but we'll get into that. So real quick, let's go right to the matchup screen, Bobby, and get right into the breakdown. So right off the bat, we could take a look at the top left screen here, which is the Carolina offense, and let me adjust that a little bit. Carolina offense, and they are saying they're going back to PJ Walker after he was benched last week for Baker Mayfield, then came in and looked,
good. The best he's looked in a while. Yeah.
So that was weird. I don't really know what to make of that, but why are they going back to Walker? And is there a legitimate danger here of an in-game benching? I'm going to say yes, personally, but what do you say?
It happened last week, so definitely some danger there. I don't think they like Baker. I think they're going to cut Baker eventually. But obviously it happened last week, so PJ's the starter. They've named him, but it's a risk.
The in-game benching risk here is massive. Massive.
Is it enough to consider Baker, or is it primarily enough to go underweight on PJ?
Both. I mean, Baker sucks, so not in love with it. But like, I'll have to see what the salaries are for Baker Mayfield. If they priced him up as a starter, like just in case, then less interesting. But if he's like a 6K, if they didn't kind of anticipate it, then yes, I do think that Baker will become very much somebody who we can mess with a little bit, at least in this game. Panthers getting back Chuba Hubbard, probably.
Yep.
But I got to say, D'Onta Foreman has looked good in the role of starting running back. I say this many times. He's actually a good running back. Not too many people really are aware, but he's pretty good. I don't know that D'Onta Foreman's role will change. I think it's Hubbard or Blackshear. Probably not both. Getting those snaps.
It's tough, Geek, because they were a timeshare when Chuba was healthy. So it's the other issue is, if Foreman would have smashed last week again, it would have felt different. But because he dudded so badly, it's hard for me to believe that he's going to still be the primary back. He might be, and he's the better running back, but it just makes it a little less exciting. That's all.
I think last week was a tough spot for the Panthers, though, in general. And so no one was expecting a great game from Foreman there. But this is different. This is a good matchup. So I still think Foreman is the lead. I think maybe Chuba Hubbard, if he plays, will be that second fiddle, and that'll kind of leave Raheem Blackshear as like the scraps guy. Baker 9,600 on DraftKings is priced as a full blast starter. So he's priced as a full blast starter, which makes it really, really tough to want to mess with that. Moving on. At the wide receiver position, we saw last couple weeks in a row that Terrace Marshall is kind of like stepping up and becoming a real solid WR2 for this team. We actually played a lot of Terrace Marshall as a punt play last week in DFS, and it worked out very nicely. DJ Moore, has become a focal point now that they've gotten rid of Christian McCaffrey. So, that's great. DJ Moore, Marshall certainly in play, and DJ Moore is probably the top, pass catching player in this entire game across either side, although, some other players we like a little bit. And then you have your sort of kind of turtly guys here in Laviska and Shi Smith who are going to pick up some scraps. Tommy Tremble, did he get a touchdown last week?
2 out of the last 3 he's caught a touchdown.
Yeah, he's been getting touchdowns. He's been getting those tutties. So got to keep an eye on him. If we look at the snap count, Ian Thomas has never been a guy who's involved in the offense. So, the pass catching tight end pretty much is Tommy Tremble or bust. Panthers. Ugh, gross. Yes. Gross. A horrible team. Speaking of horrible teams, the Falcons are not as horrible of a team overall, but the offense is really interesting. So Mariota, not really throwing a whole lot this season. When he does throw it, it's been to Pitts and London. There's just not enough volume here to go around. The real interesting thing about the Falcons is their running back sort of committee. Cordero Patterson returns last week and looks great. DFS Up North, props to him for having Cordero Patterson as one of his 10 under 10 and one of his 3 for. If you're not reading the 3 for 3, what are you doing? If you're not checking out, like he's nailed it, Bobbywow.
He's on fire. He's a beast.
Yeah, I mean, he's been crushing it with those 3 for 3. So make sure you're following DFS Up North's video, the 3 for 3, and of course his 10 under 10 article, because he's spitting winners, and that was what Cordero was this past week. But also Tyler Algier.
Yes.
Algier.
I don't know.
He also had a pretty good game, and then Caleb Huntley still in the mix. It's a lot of running backs, but I want to show our very, very important fantasy points expectation sheet so that you see that the Panthers are allowing 5 fantasy points above average expectations to opposing running backs. So the Panthers are a team to attack with the running back position.
Yeah.
And if you take a look at Atlanta, they're scoring just okay with the running backs, but actually it's not as great as I thought. But that's probably because Cordero's been out or might be considered a wide receiver. I'm not really sure.
Well, here's the other thing to consider, Geek. Not that it's gospel, but these 2 teams did play each other 2 weeks ago. So we got a little sampling of what could be to come. And that's the Deontay Foreman smash game. I think that's when he ran for over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. So just something to keep in mind as we're exploring this too.
Love that. Now, like I said, I'm a big Deontay Foreman fan. I've been following that kid since he was drafted and tore the Achilles. Not for any other reason than I drafted him in Dynasty and just kept him on my bench for a few years. But I'm not an actual fan. I just, I have exposure there. So 40% snaps for Cordero, 37% for Algier, and 21% for Caleb Huntley. Oh, we got to worry about Caleb Huntley too. A lot of running backs. At wide receiver, you've got Drake London pretty much as the primary guy, and Kyle Pitts, I would say, also as the primary guy. And if you look at their target percentages, both on the season and last week, you'll note that they are legitimate. They only throw like 18 to 22 times a game on this team, but these guys are pretty much splitting 30% each of those targets, depending on the week. I know you love Kyle Pitts this week, but London last week got the same number of targets, just didn't really do as much with them.
Yeah, they're both, I think they're both great plays. Again, looking back 2 weeks ago, Mariota had his best passing game in years against the Panthers. So both guys in play. We'll get to the sheet, but I like both guys a lot.
Could be a sneakily higher scoring game than anybody's expecting.
I think they hit 65 points 2 weeks ago.
It was a high scoring game. And, everybody's looking at this one like a stink fest, but what if it's not? Really interesting. The third wide receivers here, you've got Olamide Zacchaeus, who has actually scored touchdowns this year and had a couple of, he would be involved in a lot of showdowns already this season. And Demir Bird, was partying like it's 2019, winning showdowns, I think a week or two ago on that, on the classic Demir Bird, one play bomb for the touchdown. So that was crazy. But we did see that. And now you've got Kadero Hodge in that Garbaggio mix as well. So a lot of names to keep in mind. One good thing, though, about the Falcons is they are not really throwing very often to their non-Kyle Pitts. Like, they just don't throw that much. It's going to be really hard for any one of these guys to burn us really badly. So I think the exposure amounts we need is we got to keep it low, right? I kind of want to build around the main guys.
Yeah, I think just because they played each other, I'm a little more excited about the pass catchers. I know that that's not necessarily how it's going to play out, but if that gives us a sign of what's to come, more interested than normal.
I like it. And again, let's just jump right over to the defense against sheet here and just get a little sense here that, the Falcons, you want to, they're just bad defensively, right? 8 points above average to wide receivers, giving up more points above average to quarterbacks, tight ends. Everybody is doing well against the Falcons, and the Panthers really just want to run on the Panthers for the most part. So those are sort of the standout DVP style matchups, but that, one game sample could do anything. All right, let's jump over to the cheat sheet and start to talk the captain position over on DraftKings. So take me through it, Bobbywow. You like Cordero? Let's start at the top.
I like Cordero. I think you and I talked about this beforehand. He's the most obvious play on the slate. The reason he's not a smash play, and I put this in the notes, number one, he is priced up on DraftKings. He is not cheap. And number two, the snap share is concerning. He just came back from injury last week, so he was at 39% snap share, but he's never been like an 80, 90% snap guy. Even when he was healthy earlier this season, he was playing 55% of the snaps. So that's a high price. He can pay it off. I still like him a lot, but just brings me back a little bit, makes me a little more reserved. So that's why he's only 3.5 stars.
That's fair. I do think, he's a few games removed, but it is a Thursday, right? I didn't even get a full week to recover from the game. He caught a couple passes, but yeah, 11-8. I mean, the only reason he's 11-8 is because the sheer lack of other options on this slate. And that's really what it comes down. It's like, it's not so much that he's great. It's just, who else are you going to play on this thing? So totally true. Yeah, so next, Mariota, not really a pocket QB, so certainly a quarterback that I think is perfectly fine as a captain play.
Yeah, we haven't seen the rushing upside as much as I think any of us thought we would see, but it's certainly still there. And again, he styled against the Panthers a couple weeks ago, so certainly in consideration. PJ Walker, Geek, he got benched for Baker 2 weeks ago, named the starter. He has never had a ceiling game, ever. I mean, he's made a handful of starts this season, made some starts last season. He's never put up a worthy score at quarterback. I am okay, if you're bold, fading him or being way underweight across the board, not just a captain. I'd fade a captain for sure, but
yeah,
nothing excites me about him.
Legit risk of being benched mid-game. You got to be aware of it. If they're not playing well, they'll just take him out of the game. So I don't know why they went back to PJ Walker. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think it was because he had like one kind of okay game. Like this last game against
it's been so pedestrian. It's unbelievable. Look at these numbers.
Yeah, he got to the 20 against the Falcons. If he does that, that's the ceiling game. Like if he does that and you faded him, you're not going to make any money. So be aware that is in play. I think did he run for a touchdown in that one? No, he threw for 300. Unbelievable. But I think part of that 300, was that a bomb at the end to DJ Moore that got him there?
Yes.
Yeah, like a 70-yarder at the end. So if he doesn't land that bomb, that's a 7-point turnaround. Like if he doesn't hit that one insane Hail Mary, it's another 13.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Just be aware. If he's going to be 40-45% owned,
the leverage spot. Yes.
Yeah, you could get some serious leverage just by being like, all right, maybe I won't use him. So, do with that what you will. Leverage is always scary, and people have their own sensibilities about it. But yeah, it definitely 38% owned. I don't really see any point of playing him as a captain. I would not. He doesn't run. And if he's getting the captaincy, then DJ Moore is going to be the freaking emperor. So you don't need to worry about that. and 38.5. Yeah, I think you faded a little bit. DJ Moore though makes a lot of sense. So tell me about him.
This is the sweet spot. This is the juiciness. I think DJ Moore he's probably got maybe the highest ceiling on the slate. Close, if not the highest. He was a absolute beast 2 weeks ago. He's the number one guy, the number one weapon in this offense without C-Mac. And he's just on the field for every snap and has a massive target share. There's really not a whole lot not to like about DJ Moore outside of the quarterback throwing him the football.
And it could switch mid-game, right? So that might change. I don't want to judge him too harshly. Yeah, DJ Moore is definitely the best, offensive weapon in this game from a talent perspective. And I would say has the highest upside of any player, especially considering his price is significantly below Patterson and a couple of other guys. So definitely DJ Moore is a really good spot here. Terrace Marshall, again, I mean, Terrace Marshall's, he's part of the offense now. Like, he's the guy. He's the WR2. He's out there for all of the snaps. And he's getting, last week, I don't think this will continue. I think DJ Moore should be the alpha. But last week, him and DJ Moore got the same number of targets, which is kind of weird.
And look, I think he's a similar price point as DJ. On DraftKings, he is an elite pivot off of DJ Moore.
It's just a pivot, though. By the way, 8,400 for Terrace Marshall. For him to be within 1,000 of DJ Moore is ridiculous. Because on the main slate, DJ Moore would be priced at 6,000, maybe 6,200 on DraftKings, and Terrace Marshall is about a 4K to 4,500, like that zone type of player. These two are definitely in different calibers. It's weird that they're priced that close together, but that's just the nature of there's no one else catching passes for Carolina, so we're going to do that. That's basically what goes on there. They don't have anyone else.
Leverage pivot. That's what he is. I would not play both of them in the same lineup at all. But he's just a pivot option. Really interesting. You're right there. If you think about it, at those salaries, it would not make sense especially in a lineup that didn't have PJ Walker in it. Right. I wonder if that's a rule. I want to think about how to make a rule like that. But if Moore and Marshall are in the lineup, then actually Walker doesn't need to be in it because freaking Baker Mayfield could come in. So you can't make a rule. For me, it's don't include both. Yeah, it's just really hard to see a scenario on DraftKings where they're both in it. Yeah, definitely. All right, so moving on, a couple other potential captain plays. And it'd be hard to pull the trigger on Drake London, but I guess he's kind of as good as Darius. I mean, these players are all kind of mediocre. They're cheap. They're cheap pass catchers. The thing with London is we've seen that ceiling before. We know he can get there. He was beast mode earlier this season. So if that Drake London shows up here, he's certainly as viable as anyone at captain. Donta Foreman smashed against this team a couple of weeks ago, starting running back. I don't know how much work Chuba's going to get. By the way, Chuba sucks. I'm not in disagreement with you on that. Yeah, he's not good. So, but yeah, and Foreman, I think doesn't suck. So do with that what you will. I like Foreman. And he absolutely destroyed this situation a couple of weeks ago. So I think go back to it. Now you love Kyle Pitts in this one. So give me enthusiasm for me here. Kyle Pitts might be back, Geek. He had a ton. I forget what DFSupNORTH was saying. He was saying he had the most air yards. Yeah. He's looked especially good the last 2 out of the 3 weeks. And he is so cheap on both sites. 7K on DraftKings. That's insane. I think he's 8,500 or something on FanDuel. This is a guy that can catch 5-6 passes, get you 85, 90 yards and score a touchdown. And that should get you there on DraftKings. So captain viable. He's one of my favorites. He's essentially an all-in play for me. He's like the hill I'm dying on for tomorrow's game. Ken F is asking if we should onslaught this. Oh man. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think that would be my prime approach. It's a close game. I mean, it's a 3-point spread. Yeah, we all think Carolina sucks and they probably, but Falcons aren't that good. And these kind of teams, they play to each other's level. I don't see like a blowout happening.
I could definitely be wrong, but I'm not expecting a blowout here. I kind of think
No.
these two teams will play a competitive game, divisional matchup. I think it'll be a competitive game, even if we all believe that the Panthers are kind of like in tank mode. I don't think that matters. I think they're going to come out and play a pretty good game here. So let's get to the cheapos. You had Chuba Hubbard as a potential. I just skipped it. I don't like it. I'm skipping it. I don't see him as a viable cap. I don't accept it.
Geek, they split. They split when they were both healthy. That's all I'm saying. Just be cautious.
I'm open to it, but I don't accept it. I don't accept it. I'm allowed to not accept things.
As you should. That's what makes this great.
Yeah, I don't accept it. All right. So in the sort of how do we make lineups that are affordable zone here? We got to hang out in the kicker zone and this area. So man, it is a comedy of not that good spots. Raheem Blackshear, by the way, who Steve is mentioning here in the chat. Listen, Raheem Blackshear got the touches. He'll get some touches. He'll get some turd touches, but him and Chuba and D'Onta Foreman healthy, and that's a lot of running backs.
Too many
on an underdog team. So,
and he's not cheap either, Geek. He's priced like a fringe RB1, RB2, like a Naeem Hines.
You can't pay that. You cannot pay that. He's priced like Caleb Huntley, who is also absurdly overpriced for what he's going to do. Right? So Huntley was the backup to
Algier.
Algier. And he had some okay games alongside Algier, but now with Patterson back, like Huntley is, this is a third string running back.
The problem is they're all getting volume.
Yeah,
Huntley had the least volume, but he had 7 carries and another reception. He had 8 touches. So, and here's the thing about the running back situation. As of right now, the best odds to score a touchdown, 5 of the 6 best odds are running backs. It's these 5 guys. So again, I'm not saying go crazy, but it's at least worth paying attention to. And to me, that indicates get some shares of all 5 in your lineups if you're doing MME.
At some point, yeah, it's going to be tough, though. Those guys, I think Huntley and Blackshear are a little too expensive. They're going to need to do some real damage to get there. So you want to be very careful.
FanDuel in particular, yep.
Yeah, you want to be really careful about how much exposure to these guys we actually get and allow. And I think if you're looking at the sheet, the best way to really look at it is to look at the number of stars and sort of translate that into ownership exposures in a way. Like, I want a lot of this, right? You don't want too much of those situations at all. Who you probably do want a lot of is the kickers for both of these teams, Younghoe Koo and Eddie Pinheiro. So I'm all about those two. The kickers, this style of game tends to have a lot of kickers. Bobby is referring to 5 running backs: Cordero, D'Onta Foreman, Chuba Hubbard, Blackshear, and Algier. They're the 5 highest touchdown odds players in this game, and the 6-1 or number 6 is DJ Moore. So essentially what Bobby's telling us is like, isn't it crazy that the RB3 has a higher touchdown odds than Kyle Pitts?
No,
it's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. I wish I could I want to bet does not score a touchdown. Is that available? Can I bet that? I'm going to take a look and see if that prop is out there for these guys. Like, they're not all scoring touchdowns. PJ Walker, and no, if PJ Walker is being benched, he is not having a game worthy of his salary. So you definitely do not want to have those two in a lineup together under almost any circumstances. That will never work.
Yeah, that situation makes me want less of PJ. It doesn't make me want Baker. It just makes me want even less than I already wanted of PJ.
Yeah. So, the turds just keep on coming here, but I think you're on the right spot. You don't probably need to play any of these guys, or even making 150.
It's tough because, Michael Pruitt, let's take him, for example, stinks. He's had 20 catches since 2020. Okay.
But he catches a touchdown once in a while.
30% of those catches are touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's had 2 catches this season. 1 catch is a touchdown.
At 600, a touchdown is the nuts.
I think 8 points. That's probably the nuts. Geek, here's where I'm at, okay? There's a lot of turds. I have no reasoning for this, no rationale. But for some reason, I think Laviska Shenault is going to be the guy that breaks everyone's hearts on this slate. He got 3 snaps last week, okay? 3.
That's insane.
But it just seems like eventually the Panthers are going to figure out how to get him more involved. Every time he's in, the play is designed around him. And it's been this way for a couple weeks now. But he just feels like the guy. He might be the GPP Cinderella.
I just hit backspace by accident on my thing.
Were you so disgusted by that take?
I'm shutting the show down. No, Laviska Shenault. It's funny. I feel like DFS bros have been pushing Laviska Shenault as a thing for like 3 years, and it never happens. Like, just years of pushing Laviska, and years, it just never happens with him. But he has had an acceptable game already this year with the Panthers, I think. Let me just bring that up.
2 weeks ago, he against the Falcons, he had 6 targets.
Yeah, still only got 7.6. So yeah, he had like he's got to get a miracle play. I mean, I think, how would I put this? I think you have balls of steel to suggest 25% leverage exposure to Laviska Shenault.
Let me say this. You're trying to take down a tournament. Of all the options, kickers included, down here, he is the guy that I'm willing to take a shot on with the highest ceiling, in my opinion. That's where I'm at with him. He's the guy of all these people that could win you a tournament with the ceiling that he has. He's 95% going to get you 2 points or less. But it just seems like something's there. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's fair. I think in the mix, Tommy Tremble has caught a couple touchdowns. Shi Smith is on the field a ton for the Panthers as the WR3. Listen, it's WR3 on a bad passing team. Probably not going to lead to a whole lot. But I do think the defenses are both in play, as well as, of course, the kickers, who we should be pretty heavy on. I could easily see a kicker in a game like this just being one of the highest scoring 2 or 3 players in the entire game. Like, that could happen. So, yeah, really, I'm going to say with these turds especially, you don't need a lot of them. Like, I don't need, outside of if I want to leverage Laviska Shenault, sure, but you could leverage Laviska Shenault at 15%, and you're still going to have pretty good leverage there as well. So, pay attention to the ownership projection. And, if you want to kind of ride your day out on one of those guys, go double that or even triple if it's really small. But I don't want to leverage my day on Ian Thomas, for example.
Take a stand. Like, don't have 10% exposure to Shi Smith and 10% to Laviska. Move the exposure to one of those guys, but get 20 on one instead. Like, those are the types of things that you need to be doing in tournaments.
And be right about it is really important. All right, real quick, I want to talk about our sponsor, No House Advantage. I love this site, Bobbywow. It is a prop site, over-under game. Really, really simple to play. And what I like is they run a tournament style format. So, for example, Thursday Night Football, they've got a tournament going, and you basically just pick a prop and assign a points value to it. Your favorite prop, you assign a points value to it, and wow, it's already 59.5, and that prop has gone up and up. By the way, that was 53 or on a different site, and so that's been going up and up. But you pick your favorite props, you plug them right in. You like Kyle Pitts this week, fine, throw him in there. Get some unders going, and basically you pick 7 props. If you get it right, you get the number of points that you assign to the value of the prop, and he who scores the most points wins the tournament. It is a GPP style format, and I am telling you guys, these do not fill most weeks, so there's a lot of overlay, a lot of free money. If you sign up over there with promo code DFS Army, they will do a deposit match. So check out No House Advantage over at nohouseadvantage.com and start making money on some of these props.
Love it.
All right. Let's go over to the FanDuel Actually, no, let's make a lineup. It's time to make a lineup. A little DraftKings lineup here. So let's talk about where we want to start this one. And give me your favorite starter. I like DJ Moore up there, but I'm also down with Pitts or Foreman. How do you want to start this one?
Yeah, let's go DJ Moore.
All right. So I think DJ Moore is probably the safest non-Cordero Patterson play, I guess.
One thing to note too, and I put this in the notes as well, you do not have to pair Moore with PJ Walker, even if he's a captain. You do not have to do that.
You don't always have to pair a captain, definitely not a captain wide receiver with their QB. So I'm down with that. As far as the rest of this lineup, so let's grab some spots that we really like. I already kind of talked about. I definitely like the kickers, and I'm going to favor the Atlanta kicker here. So let's throw Young Huku in there just as a salary saving spot.
You like Cordero?
Definitely like Cordero. That's eating some salary away. Mariota, okay.
I love Pitts.
All right, so let's go to Pitts. I know you love the Pitts. That leaves us 6,600. So we can either go with sort of two middling guys. I can't get Foreman and Algier together. I do like Foreman, though. So let's see what happens here.
Throw Foreman in there. I think you got enough for...
Yeah. This puts us in kind of a gross zone. Olamide, Falcons defense. Ooh, I kind of like Falcons defense as well.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, I'm going to go Falcons defense here to close it out. I kind of like this approach.
Turn GPP quick, but yeah, I like it.
Yeah, a little GPP. Listen, if I wanted to make it a little more cashy, I probably would just put the other kicker in there in a game like this. I think you would just want to put both kickers in because we got Foreman in there. We got the prime running backs for both teams. Maybe Algier is another one that I might try to squeeze into a sort of a different style lineup. But yeah, I think this works. Just one of many different ways to build a lineup on DraftKings this week. But I definitely don't mind that one. All right, let's talk a little bit of FanDuel. And man, there's a lot of MVPs on this list, Bobbywow.
I know. I knew you were going to say it.
Too many.
Look, just pay attention to the stars, okay? The stars are what matters, not the names.
Yeah, too many. All right, so let's start at the top.
We have this conversation every showdown, and then a guy like Dallas Goedert ends up being the nuts.
I know. No, I want all of the possible ones, right? So Dallas Goedert, though. I don't know. Was he the nuts on FanDuel?
I don't know. Probably not.
I think it was DraftKings. I don't think he actually was the nuts on FanDuel.
He was close if he wasn't.
Yeah, it was really close. And it was like, man, this guy hasn't had a good game all day. Crazy. All right. Cordero Patterson, I think, is probably the best of all of the potential ones, but I like Donta Foreman as well. We always prefer running backs on FanDuel where touchdowns are king. You love Mariota here, so take me through that. I mean, obviously he's a quarterback. Quarterbacks do well as well.
Yeah, I think, Mariota, again, same matchup 2 weeks ago, had his best game in a long time. He's got the rushing upside. So I don't think you can go wrong with Patterson or Mariota, but I favor Mariota slightly just given the short week for Cordero and the limited snap count he had last week, even though he scored twice.
I'm trying to see what he scored last time these two teams played. He got you 24, which was the nuts, and he's had another 24 this season, so he's definitely gotten into that zone of the nuts on FanDuel, which you need to probably generally be over 20 fantasy points for, depending on how the game goes. So yeah, I feel that. Look at where they priced Mayfield. So they are not allowing. They probably just didn't know who was starting.
Totally.
Priced them both the same. This ruins both of these guys for me. PJ Walker could get benched, even if Mayfield plays. He's priced up so high that he needs a full game's worth of play to have a shot at getting like the 22 or 20 fantasy.
Well, what did he score last week? Click on it. What did he score last week in relief?
I thought he did okay, but yeah, 14. He only got
I don't know if that
2
gets
touchdowns. He got 14.
It's as good as he's going to play in a half, and that still doesn't get you there.
I mean, it gets you there if you got a full game.
28. Right, exactly.
Yeah, but this was his best half like ever. I think Mayfield might come in and maybe he'll be humbled and play a little better if he comes in. I don't know. I don't know what it is with that guy. I really don't understand why he's bad. He just is. Cordero, Shore, DJ Moore, of course. PJ Walker.
Hate it. Yeah, I said for the same. He's on the list for the same reason as Baker. This could light a fire under him. That's the one possibility.
Yeah, no, I like Foreman though. Foreman has put up big scores in his career, so I mean, it's pretty tight here. I mean, these are a lot of names, but you don't feel very good about playing DJ Moore at captain at all. You definitely don't feel that great about Chuba Hubbard. You didn't even give a star. Like you get 0 stars to Terrace Marshall. So I mean, who's playing him, right?
There's a 1 on my screen, but yes, I mean,
no, it's a 0.
Either way,
it's a 0. It's a 0. And so when I look at this, I go, all right, Cordero, maybe Mariota, and that's it. And Foreman. Those are the 3 primes for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and I'm trying to expand my mind to see a scenario where somebody else puts up. It could be DJ Moore. He need another Hail Mary. I don't know. It's probably
Moore
just those 3.
Scored 25 2 weeks ago. Same matchup.
Yeah,
would have been the Nuts MVP.
Needs the Hail Mary. So that's your other guy, right? That's your other guy. And again, the matchup does dictate that he could have a good game. So it's worth a look. Let's take a look at some of the salaries on FanDuel and see who stands out. So yeah, there's Donta Foreman, 11K. I do like that very much. Touchdown scorer. Kyle Pitts at 8,500 is just ridiculous.
It's insane. He's a plug and play for me. I'm not saying everyone should do that, but I think he's the best play on the slate and the flex.
Yeah. Now, as far as the rest of these guys, so Tyler Algier at 10K.
It's tough. It's more doable on FanDuel, but I don't know that I don't think I'm playing him and Patterson in the same lineup.
I mean, they could both do it in the same game.
The likelihood is certainly 2 out of 3 between them and Mariota at most.
Yeah,
I would make.
I'm just trying to think like a 10K. That's actually kind of reasonable for FanDuel where it's so touchdown dependent and they're just going to run the football. Like what's Atlanta going to do? Understand what Atlanta does. For all the Pitts talk, Atlanta generally just wants to run the football constantly. They're running it with Mariota a little bit. They want to run and play defense. They've been good at it this year. They're going to keep doing it. And they have the opponent that cannot stop the run to do it against. They're giving up 5.5 points above expectations to opposing running backs. So like it just stands out. And Algier, what if Cordero gets hurt early? So I'm going to throw this out there. Cordero's back from injury. He's old. He gets hurt. Tyler Algier, what the fuck is RC Brenomenon? He's got to get a timeout. You seeing that? It's like I missed it, biggest fan. I don't know. It's so bizarre. Anyway, where was I? So Tyler Algier, if Patterson gets hurt, all of a sudden smashes and breaks the slate. As a matter of fact, there is a little argument that you could put him up in the captain spot just in case.
You're so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't hate. I mean, look, Patterson was in. He's had 100 rushing yards last week. He had a 24-yard catch. Never know.
Yes.
That's why these 5 are 5 of the 6 best odds to score.
Yeah. And again, in-game injuries definitely happen. And that is a thing that you have to account for when you're making these lineups. And couldn't you just see it? Again, Cordero comes out. Algier takes over.
Yes. Has
a strong game in a great running back matchup. So I like that. Let's take a look down here and see if there are any players that allow us that are kind of in the sub level that allow us to I think with Kyle Pitts down here, it's like he sucks up so much of my interest at 8,500 that it's really hard to kind of really want to get down with the turds, so to speak, other than a couple of one-offs like Blackshear, a couple of one-offs here on some of these guys.
FanDuel, you can
Caleb
cycle
Huntley.
in some of these RB2, RB3 guys at 5 to 10%. It makes more sense in DraftKings, just because of the touchdown dependency.
Absolutely. And looking through the rest of these guys, Tommy Tremble touchdowns last few weeks, so 7K potential touchdown scorer. Your boy Laviska Shenault, and then the trash cans. So
I can't get off the game from 2 weeks ago where they played. That's disrupting my flow a little bit. It's hard to ignore that. And Geek, Pitts really feels like the Goddard of this slate. Super low priced, consistent presence in the offense, good ceiling. So, but yeah, I'm with you, man.
No, I'm down with that too. Like, I love it. The Pitts play, going heavy on it. That's certainly something that could take a tournament down, and you've freaking nailed these almost every single slate that we've done. So why would I question it? I am down, and I will get down with Pitts, and maybe we want to throw some captaincy onto Pitts. No, a little MVP action for Pitts.
We can. Yeah, we can. I was already concerned about the number there. I didn't want you to yell at me, but
no, I mean, I'm never going to yell. I'm just kidding. I might put him in there over Terrace Marshall. Remember, salaries don't matter on FanDuel. So, yeah, he's a tight end. He could score touchdowns, no question. All right, let's make a FanDuel lineup.
Let's do it.
Do you start with Mariota or Patterson here?
I'm probably going Mariota. Mariota feels a little safer, doesn't he? Or am I crazy?
It's probably safer.
Just with Patterson's recent injury and not getting as many snaps.
I mean, we get them both in the lineup anyway. I think you got to play both of these guys. Monk. I got to know who Monk is. At this point, I don't know. Tony Shalhoub. Remember that show?
No.
Monk. I like Foreman as well. As you know, more Foreman. I like both these spots, but we got to get a kicker in there in this type of lineup. So we go right back to Young Hoku.
Pitts.
Oh, yeah. Pitts has to be in it. And it leaves us with a choice of Foreman or London. We can't quite get to DJ Moore. So I will go. I'm cool with this. I think that's the lineup. It builds itself.
There you go.
Is there any alternative that we could have gone with? No. We get the RB1 for the Panthers. Get the RB1 for Atlanta. We get the favored kicker. We get the underpriced tight end and the quarterback on the favored team. This is how you build a lineup.
Yeah, GPP, I might go Moore instead of Patterson. But yeah, I think that's the one.
Can we discuss that? I don't know who Monk is and what Tattoo is talking about. And, if you have questions, Swavey JP, now's your time. All right. I think that's going to do it for this breakdown, Bobbywow. Any final thoughts other than load up on Pitts?
I think Pitts is my guy. I think don't go crazy, but Shenault is my Cinderella. So 15%.
Yeah. And mine is Cordero Patterson gets hurt. Tyler Algier steps in and crushes the slate.
I don't hate it, Geek. That's realistic.
Matchup. Could happen. In that scenario, though, you better have some Algier lineups that don't have Patterson in them.
Because for me, that's most of them if I'm playing Algier. But yeah.
Yeah. But listen, I think you can. I do think, though, to preempt the question, you can definitely play them together as well. There's no problem for me. This team could run it enough. They did it literally last week where both guys did enough to get there. We just saw it on Sunday. So it can happen again. I know because I just saw it on Sunday. All right. That's going to do it. Showdown Breakdown, NFL, Week 10. Guys, let us know who your favorite turds are, who your favorite captain plays, who your favorite MVP plays are. Hammer that in the comments. I always take a look. I like to see who you guys are into. And sometimes you put me on a player that I wasn't thinking about. So you help us out. And if you pick the turd of the week, we will call you out next week on the show and give you a free month of DFS Army VIP. If you're not signed up at DFS Army, of course, make sure you go and check that out. My promo code is Geek. You get 10% off VIP, get the optimizer, the projections, all the stuff we have behind the paywall that you don't get to see. And of course, every single sport we are smashing NBA. Everything's going strong right now. So make sure you get in there. Check out DFS Army. Steve Lynn's turd is black. Oof, such a bad turd. But who knows? Anything can happen. Anything can happen. All right. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you guys next time on the Showdown Breakdown.